indicator very quickly. You're saying that you made the transition to a different national standard. The reporting in the pre-hearing responses still stipulate the 10-second response. So I'm hearing what you're saying is that, we
Sure.
switched, I believe in 2020, to the 15-second standard, which, Nina, is the standard.
Yes.
However, your reporting is still based on the National Fire Protection Association standard of 10 seconds. Why the discrepancy? Was that just merely a carryover from previous reports, or is there something we should read into that?
I'm going to let the deputy director, she deals a lot with the statistical, if that's okay with you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, your depiction was correct. The adjustment is a carryover, but in this fiscal year, the plan does state 15 seconds as opposed to the 10 seconds.
And what's the percentage for the 15 seconds? Is that the 74.4% that it's documented? Or is that based on the 10-second?
I'll need to take a look at it and see, but we'll get that information to you.
That would be very important to know. So I would appreciate if you could follow up on that. Director, I want to come back to just inability to get information. And I also appreciate that you are a director that is responding to someone else, namely the mayor and her agents, district government leads. Question 69 in your pre-hearing responses asks about the after-action report that OUC promised the committee last October in response to the district dogs incident, yet we still don't have that. What is the status of the report?
So this is what I will say. I can talk about OUC. As we know, there's been a change in HCMA handles the after-action report. So for the Office of Unified Communications, we participated in that after-action. We provided the information that was requested, and we also looked at how we were handling things. We worked with fire and EMS to get more training. As we had talked about, when we were training for flooding, we were training for outside flooding because we had really...
I understand that.
Sure.
I want to just keep it on the report. So is your response that it is not up to OUC to produce that report, it is HCMA?
Correct. We produce, what I know to be true and what I can say about OUC and our part of that is we identified the things where we could have made improvements. We made improvements and changed policy to do so.
Okay, so I will then bring you to question 68 that relates to Bernard Baker, who died of cardiac arrest. There were questions around staffing levels at OUC, which is in your purview. And
Sure.
Yet your response is information about this incident is not available to the public.
I don't have exact staffing numbers in front of me, but we will circle back.
When?
As soon as we can.
So the committee issued these pre-hearing responses, I'm assuming, many months ago, and the response that the council has received is you're not going to give us the information.
I will follow up.
So if I were to ask by the end of today, by 5 p.m. today, could OUC produce the staffing levels for the date that Bernard Baker died, which was in April of 2023, we will get that information.
I will do it in a timely manner. I can't tell you that it's going to be at 5 o'clock.
Okay. So what I'm struggling with, Director, is there's a pattern of asking for information and then we don't get it. And the executive essentially says, we're not going to do that. And DC code, for those that are watching, 1-301.44C precludes district agencies from withholding documents or information requested by members or staff of the DC Council. So legally, a district agency cannot respond with, I'm not going to produce that information.
Sure.
And I will bring your attention to the CAD report related to the district dog situation. I personally requested that information following the aftermath of the district dogs flood and was told there was an ongoing investigation that was leading to this report that we've never received. Now you're pointing us to HCMA. When should we expect the CAD report?
So I just want to be clear about this, and I understand what you're saying, and I can appreciate that, right? So What I am saying to you is sometimes if there's other litigation,
There
I
is no
can't.
litigation related to district dogs.
Okay, I will talk with my general counsel, and again, I can get back to you.
So, to be clear, my request on behalf of the council in respect to Chairperson Pinto, so I would ask that you share with the committee, and
Sure.
she will be sure she shares it with me,
Absolutely.
is that by 5 p.m. today, that we receive the CAD report involved with the district dog situation, and it's my understanding that there were several. I've seen the CAD report because it's floating around on social media, which is further offense that my request of the director of the agency received a no, not yet, yet the general public has it because someone leaked it internally, I would assume. And secondly, the staffing levels for the date that Bernard Baker Jr. died. And I would just highlight again, these aren't first-time requests. The committee has asked the agency for this months ago, and members of the public have long asked for it as well. Okay.
Thank you.
I would also remind you that you are under oath, Director, and so I don't say that lightly. I'm just saying I want to make sure we're on the up and up, and the response just cannot be, we're not going to give the information.
I completely understand, and
Okay.
I wouldn't.
All right, I
Thank you.
want in my next 3 minutes to transition to PowerPhone. How much was the district spending on its previous dispatch system, or I guess in parts the current system?
I am not sure exactly how much we were spending on that. What I can say, and we'll certainly, we can get that for you. What I can say, the city was using the electronic criteria-based dispatch program, which was a homegrown program out of Seattle, King County, Washington. Prior to that, the city was using the National Academy's emergency dispatch protocol. There was a change. It's my understanding that there was a change when the fire chief came. When Fire Chief Dean came and brought that protocol from Seattle, King County, that protocol is end of life. It's not being supported outside of Seattle, King County. In fact, they themselves are now looking for a new protocol system to use. And so it is also not standards-based. There are 3 standards-based programs that align with the NENA standard for call processing and protocol systems. And so we looked at all 3, and we met with members of FEMS, MPD, DBH, as well as we solicited volunteers for working groups for this from dispatch and call taking. And we looked at everything and we said, what are the needs of fire and EMS? What are the needs of MPD? They gave us their needs, and then we brought them back PowerPhone and said this one would be the best for the needs, specifically for the medical director's needs of trying to divert 911 calls away from ambulance dispatch and more to the nurse triage line.
So am I to interpret from that that fire and EMS and medical partners want PowerPhone as a service?
They want what is going to get them the best response, and left it to us as the industry experts to go out and see what the ideas were and bring it back to the table and present to them. And we've been able to do that with PowerPhone. And we also, with PowerPhone, can integrate some of the things that they already have, such as Pulse Point, such as TCPR. The council.
So specifically related to fire and EMS, I have read accounts that PowerPhone potentially can overwhelm fire and EMS, in part because of what Ms. Knox was pointing to earlier, the sense of over-dispatching, that a theft versus robbery or whatever the case may be. I just want to be clear, this was an OUC decision to transition to PowerPhone, not necessarily the entire public safety apparatus decision.
We brought this solution, that's correct. I will say this to that point. MPD and DC Fire, not the medical director's office, but DC Fire, have both tested and are both signed off on and 100% happy with PowerPhone and how it looks, works, and feels today.
Okay. How much is PowerPhone costing us to transition to?
600. It was about $532,000.
Is that annual
No, that was the
costs?
That was the implementation.
And what would be the annual cost on average?
$80,000.
$80,000.
And that is in line with the other products that are out there.
And in my last 2 seconds, what other cities and/or the largest city can you point to that might be using Power Phone as a model for what we can expect?
As far as largest cities, I don't know that right off the top of my head. What I do know is over 700 911 centers across the nation use it. There are only about 6,000. Most of them are not using any sort of protocol system. That is a fair and accurate statement. What I will say is this one provided the most ability to customize for the Office of the Medical Director so that we could get calls to the nurse triage line and so that we could get calls to the Department of Behavioral Health's Access Helpline. And if I was saying what was the decision point, I would point to that
Okay.
it allowed for the customization for our many diversion programs.
All right, I have more questions here,
Sure.
but I am out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Parker.